And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final episode of the series of Clutter Talk Live, episode 12. And it's very exciting. Today, we're going to be talking about moving into the new normal, as well as looking back on some of our favorite highlights from the last 11 episodes. So I'm going to get Clara and Elaine in from the waiting room. They are joining us now, and we'll see how they're all doing. Hello, Clara and Elaine.
Good morning.
How's it going? What's been happening?
All good, thanks. Yeah, all good this week. Yeah, not too bad. Saw some actual people this week, face to face.
Wow.
Which was
How
good.
was that for you?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I was out. I was actually popped out to see a client yesterday just because she was feeling a wee bit low, and I thought, I'll just go for a wee chat. So I went and had a wee chat in the garden, socially distanced, of course, with my visor on. So that looked a bit silly, but actually she felt quite comfortable because she saw there was a protection there and she felt quite relaxed. So better than the mask, I think, because people get a wee bit frightened by the masks. But yeah, so good, all good. Oh, good.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you've given Clara and I as well one of these visor masks, so
Yeah.
maybe we can grab them and show people. But they're quite good. They're quite comfortable.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad because actually I was actually planting some plants for her. So I mean, obviously I was outdoors, but I think it was more to make her feel comfortable, so she could see my face. I wasn't sweaty with the mask right on my face at that point. Obviously, if I go indoors, maybe the mask needs to go on as well. But outside, it was good. So,
yeah, I did my first sort of wee job with an elderly lady who was moving, and everything had been put on hold. So she got everything organised just before lockdown. So I just went to kind of give a bit of advice, a bit of support, and to take away some stuff. But I wore the mask, but didn't sort of spend too much time in the house because she was pretty much ready. It was just a bit of sort of moral support that she needed, and all the ducks are lined up, everything's lined up. So I hope it all goes well for her next week. But it was really interesting to get out. I quite enjoyed it.
yeah.
Clara, how have you been, love?
I've been good, thank you. Yes, I've been busy organising for the children's schooling. My son had his trip to the high school because he'll be going into first year. And he had his leavers ceremony yesterday, which was lovely. And he also brought in fleas from the park. So I had an impromptu whole house clean. Really, which it reminded me of that stories that you read out at your workshop sometimes about how when you really look at your kettle or your skirting boards, you see accumulated dust and grime. So I did a full clean of both the children's bedrooms and switched the bedrooms round. So they now are in different bedrooms, which is to give my son a bit more privacy. Now he's becoming a teenager. He's not opposite my bedroom. He's opposite the bathroom, and I've got the wee one opposite my bedroom now. So yeah, that was an unexpected decluttering deep clean for me. It makes me itch just. They didn't affect me, but it makes me itch just talking about it. And I had a barbecue at my mum's, which was lovely. And I have, my mum had been having an impromptu declutter. So she gave me a massive carrier bag of photos to look through and then photos to take home with me. So that was really interesting, just decades worth of photos, looking through those. So that was a really lovely time. So she gave me this big pile to look through that she didn't want, and then she said, well, do you want to look through the big pile that I'm keeping? I said, no, one lot. That's hard going emotionally. Like 40 years of photos in one afternoon. So we did that the next time I was over. So that's been really great, but a real blast from the past. I think I pinged you girls some of the photos.
You did.
You did, and I can understand. Yeah, I can understand why it is hard going emotionally. I mean, some of those hairdos are fairly shocking. I mean, I need to take it steadily.
And your son looks so like your face when you were younger. It's like unbelievable. He's so like you. Yeah. Yeah.
I know, I remember when he was born, their father's foreign, he's of Turkish origin. So when Jack was born, and I always dyed my hair, he was born bright copper, and their dad said, nobody, are you sure he's mine? He's ginger. And I was like, first, offensive, and secondly, for the ginger comment, and secondly, offensive, yes, he's yours. Got red hair in my family. My dad was a redhead. And he's like, you didn't tell me, and you didn't ask.
No, I've got lovely big red-headed boys in my family, so up for the redheads.
Yes, I'm up for the redheads.
Excellent. I love hanging out with you guys. You just make me laugh. So just to reassure everybody, although this is our last episode of this series, we will have another one. So this is the lockdown series. We're going to have a wee pause whilst we do our Strathclyde online uni course, which is a whole new adventure. And then we'll be coming back at some point, but we'll keep you all updated with sort of wee videos and top tips that come out from this channel. So don't worry, we are not going away. We're just reconfiguring. But I had some really good news this week. What was the news, Clara? Do you know? I might find it and share screen. Clara, do you want to tell the news for me?
So Zem, very excitingly, her Clutter chat was registered as an SEO after several years work and planning to do this. So amazing. Very, very exciting. There was definite whoop whoops and kitchen dancing going on.
So I'm sharing the acceptance letter now from SCIO is a Scottish charitable incorporated organisation. So our number, we have a number, and it's 050222, which is great. I love having a number. Mm-hmm. And I began this 6 years ago as a peer support group for people suffering from clutter. And just to read out for the whole world to see, the organisation's purposes are to seek the relief of people in need or who are disadvantaged due to chronic clutter and problematic hoarding habits by offering support, advice and assistance, such as peer support groups, advocacy, research, awareness raising, and related activities. So yeah, we've got a wonderful board, and we have a bank account, a SCIO number, and so we're ready to sort of push forward something into the new normal. And yeah, so that's my big news, which is just really good. As soon as something like that happens, you can just start moving forward again. So that's, yeah, thanks everyone for your congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And sort of yay. And I think kind of moving forward as well, well, what should we do first? We've got a really, really interesting person in the waiting room, Blanche from Rags to Riches. But we were going to talk about maybe what were our top highlights first of the series. Is there a couple of things that really kind of just jump out at you? But actually, what jumps out at me, Clara, is when your dog jumped on you. That's like one of my first, my best memories. But we've had some wonderful guests, and Elaine, Clara, have there been any that particularly felt?
I've loved all the guests we've had. I've loved the hearing people's experiences of how they are in their own homes and working with each of us. And I really enjoyed Tilo's talk, but I really wanted to see the brush on the kitchen ceiling. Why did we not see that? I really wanted that. I mean, it was nice to see in his cupboards, but I wanted to see that brush on the ceiling. And I loved our editing things, because Zem is technology amazing. We really appreciate what you're doing with the technology, but I loved you having to edit out you going, shut up, to both of us when we're like chatting and you're about to go on air. And I loved me not going, are we on or are we here? And Elaine in her shorts getting up to walk, the things you've had to edit out, I've loved those, like faulty towers.
Yeah, there's been some good ones, and I think someone I was talking to as well this week, not only you, Clara, but you had mentioned this, but somebody else mentioned, said, I love because you're sitting at your front window and there's everything's going on outside. So I've had the postman arrive, I've had my friends arrive. Last week I had the guys doing the windows. This is usually a very quiet cul-de-sac, but during this time on a Wednesday, it seems to be that the world comes and is on in front of me.
Have an activity.
So yeah, they're quite funny moments. Yeah.
Yeah, I've loved some of the guests. I loved having your niece on, the nursery worker and key worker, and I think those have been really special moments as well, and finding out how people are coping. And the comments, I've loved the subscribers commenting on the current, what we're chatting about. So please, if anybody has a question for us in this sort of final episode, then please do comment on the YouTube live chat, or you can text through to our very humdrum number 077 265 30217, which reminds me I actually need to turn the phone on. 077 265 30217, and we'll see how many we can get through today.
I loved Leslie's comment last week, which I don't think we read out, which was that she had a spring cleaning buddy, and that she loved doing that with her friend, but then her friend moved away. And I think that is so important, that it's so much easier to do something when you have someone alongside of you. It's just, so thanks for that comment, Leslie. We really enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's how it works, and that's how decluttering works. It's so much easier if you have someone that you're comfortable with, or who inspires you beside you, doing the work together. Absolutely.
And a lot of people have commented that they've quite liked joining us for a coffee this at this time on a Wednesday. Somebody said to me, "Oh, what do you mean you're stopping? What do you mean you're stopping? I have my coffee with you on a Wednesday. It's like a wee coffee morning." And I said, yeah, we'll be back. Don't worry, we'll be back.
Yeah, we're only pausing. Don't worry, we're only pausing. We're having a summer holiday.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, is this a good time to get Blanche in? So we said a bit about Blanche last week. I'm sorry, I did it in Yorkshire accent, Blanche. It's not quite as sophisticated as she'll say it. So Blanche grew up in Paris, and her family is from Martinique and has still quite strong connections with Martinique, but has been in Glasgow, Scotland, I think, for about 30 years, and has been deeply involved in lots of community activities. And one thing that I'm particularly interested in, she did a lot of upcycling. She does a lot of upcycling work, Rags to Riches. I'll share the website soon. And also this trash orchestra where she worked with musicians, and they kind of created, and community people created like music from trash, and all very exciting. So I'm really interested in where these ideas came from and how she's made them happen. And as we said last week, Elaine and Clara, you've known her as well, haven't you? And
Yes.
what's your, before we let her in, what's the gossip? What's your impression?
I love her just zest and joy for life. I love the colours. You're only going to see her from the waist up, but you'll get an idea. She just loves colours, and the colour combinations are always startling and joyful. But she's got such a good heart and very socially conscious and inclusive. So I love all those things about her.
Have we embarrassed her enough? Can we embarrass her a bit more, Elaine?
Well, just that she was very kind in letting us come in to Rags to Riches to run your clutter surgery. There's where we had the opportunity to invite people in if they had any problems, to come in and just sit and chat at the back of the shop there. So, I mean, that was very kind that we were there, and we were happy to help as well for anybody in the local area who needed some help there.
Excellent. Right. I think we've built her up enough. She can handle it. Here she is. Blanche.
Hello.
I don't know if you did you hear any of that on YouTube, but we basically just given you a big bigs up, basically.
Well, I actually stopped listening to the YouTube live when I said, "Oh, we'll introduce Blanche." So then I thought, like, I'll just stop that because then there'll be like double.
Probably wise. Probably wise. Welcome to the madhouse, Blanche.
Thank you. Thank
So I
you.
just gave people a basic introduction to you, but first off, tell us about what's been your experience over lockdown. How's it been?
It's been really good, I guess. I think it's an opportunity for, well, it was an opportunity for me to actually kind of slow down a little bit, especially at the beginning. And I got involved in a lot of, growing vegetables and stuff, and like spring onions from and leeks and stuff, from the from waste. And did a little bit of sewing and things like that, and rearranged the house, repotting plants and things like this. So it's been quite good, but at the same time, there's been issues with obviously not seeing people and stuff, but I'm quite fortunate. I've got like quite a large garden, and, it's just kind of, a shared communal garden. So it's quite nice to just get down there and, and just, enjoy the sunshine and the good weather that we've had lately, thanks to climate change.
Yeah, we'll touch on that later.
Yes.
The benefits.
The benefits of, in Scotland at least.
I've heard a similar thing from myself as well, from people who are quite socially active, that they actually have enjoyed a bit of a break, putting a break on things to kind of reflect and to figure out what it is we actually need to do. Because I think you, like me, are quite a busy bee.
Yeah.
Always
involved
seeing your activities, always involved in everything. And it's been, for me, it was quite nice to have permission not to be.
Yeah. I think that was definitely a good thing, especially at the beginning.
And we heard, Blanche, that you were. Are you now a granny, or what did you call yourself?
I am a mammy.
Granny.
Sorry, I wasn't allowed to say granny, but I didn't know what to say. Mammy,
right.
a mammy.
Well, I think, for the benefit of this talk and initial chat and stuff, yes, I am a grandmother. But because I'm French, and like in France, it's like, it's a mammy or something, like my mom now is I'm a mammy, and I just think it sounds so much better than granny. So yes, I'm a grandmother as of the 24th of September.
Oh, congratulations.
Yay. So I've seen her obviously at the beginning, but she was still an infant and stuff, so I saw her then, and then lockdown happened. So since lockdown, I think I've seen her about 4 times or 3 times, social distance and stuff, so I've not had a proper squeeze yet, and I'm seeing her growing virtually, basically. So it's all that, like I'm inviting for dinner for the first foods and things like that. So that's good on the virtual, through the, WhatsApp chat. So it's not been too bad in a way, because I've seen her grow and I've seen her develop. So hopefully soon, I'll get to get a proper squeeze.
I know there's nothing like the feel of a new baby that's related to you, and the smell, that baby.
And the smell. I was going to say, and the softness.
Fingers.
Yeah, so but it's not too bad, I mean, we've got a good relationship with my daughter and stuff, and like it's really regular, these calls, and it's actually not too bad. Just that virtual way is actually not you adapt and stuff, so you still get, I mean, I kept thinking about the fact that if there wasn't the virtual chat, like the kind of, you could see somebody virtually, and I'm seeing my mom in the Caribbean virtually like this, and the whole family, so, and before it would have been the phone, without any of that kind of visual interaction, so it would have been even more difficult, going through this lockdown just, with a phone call. So it's not too bad.
I think that's true. Go on.
Sorry.
Go, Clara.
I was just going to say, I was speaking to my daughter's primary school teacher yesterday in person, socially distanced, and she was saying that when lockdown happened, she knew right away she couldn't be by herself. She needed to be around with family, so she moved in with her sister, and she was saying that she was so ready not to be on Zoom and just to be with the children in their presence, and she had tears in her eyes when she was saying it, and I was really moved. And I can imagine that when you get to see your granddaughter in person, oh, there's just going to be waterworks all round.
I know. Definitely, yeah.
Nothing that can. Zoom is wonderful, and you're right, Blanche, about how technology is helping us through this time. But there's nothing like being in that other person's presence and 3D.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think it's like great because you've been able to connect with your mum out in the Caribbean and out in Martinique. And I'm finding, I mean, my parents are just in the Forest of Dean, which is a 7 hours drive away, but we're now having I'm joining them on their singing online with their singing group. So, and I've got like, because I studied abroad, I've got friends kind of around the world and having these sort of Zoom conversations and seeing them, and they're sending me pictures of where they are and and it's also the regularity. It's easy for me to kind of organize a weekly meetup with mum and dad, and we have a laptop place at the table where the laptop literally sits. So I'm really enjoying it, and like was drinking a bottle of wine the other day, and then we just Googled where the vineyard was and then could see the vineyard. And I wouldn't have done that before, but it's really enriching all the stories around the stuff that I have in the house or that I consume. And I think this is where I'm kind of interested as well, Blanche, in your work, like how you see those kind of global connections and what goes on, how you came up with the skills. If you could maybe tell people that story of the PPE during lockdown, I think that's a good one. Like, and how did you come up with these sewing skills, and where did they come from? What were the influences?
Yeah, so the PPE was quite, so it was a lot of work. And initially, I think I had seen something online, and I was talking to one of my tutors that was, that had mentioned.
So just to explain to people, the PPE comes out of your Rags to Riches.
That's right. Yeah.
So you've been running groups for sewing and for upcycling.
Yeah, for the past 9 years.
For the past 9 years. So it was using those resources. So if you could just maybe give people a little bit of a picture of that, and then.
Of Rags to Riches, yes. So Rags to Riches is a social enterprise project that's been set up by Govanhill Baths Community Trust, operated from the building before refurbishment, and was set up in 2011. Out of the need of just transferring skills to the local community. And initially it was sewing, and now it's, various crafts and things like that. So it's very much, so waste reduction, circular economy, which is like kind of upcycling and bringing waste into the loop and using waste to create products and things like that. Thank you. The website, which is not that great, but yes, it's not too bad. The shop is good, actually, like having a look at some of the products that we've made and that we're making at the moment. So yeah, we've got like a breadth of loads of experience, loads of projects that we've delivered over time, engaged with with a lot of people in Govanhill and out with, because we've got an outreach service. So if somebody wants to get access to our tutors and equipment and materials and stuff and expertise, I would put a tutor in place with another organisation or for another event. And all that is, we are using waste as a medium. So it's like waste textiles, waste wood, waste plastic bottles.
Such beautiful stuff, Blanche, such beautiful stuff. And is this all for sale now? Can people go online and buy it?
It is all for sale now, yes.
Excellent. And I have face mask collection.
Yes. Oh, can you click on the face mask collection?
Click on the face mask collection.
I can vouch for the quality, because I've got bracelets, I've got the pet mat to put.
Yes. Good, Clara. That's fantastic.
I got my friend the macrame necklace.
Yes.
I've got lots of things. I brought Elaine one of the little driftwood miniature.
Yes.
Got that.
Yeah,
and
we had the shop.
Cushion.
We had the shop on Victoria Road, and so we supported about 30 makers that were local makers that used waste to create products. Unfortunately, we had to shut down the shop, and actually there was a kind of silver lining moment actually, because we shut it down in January, and then lockdown happened in March. So in a way, that was potentially a good thing to do, because we would have struggled throughout the lockdown period. But we moved everything online, all the products online, the Rags to Riches range. So, and we've got we've got quite a lot of new staff actually, and we've got a new project coming up called, so it's, the project is funded by Keep Scotland Beautiful, and it's the Climate Challenge Fund, a 2-year fund, and we were just successful just before lockdown. So we are now also trying to adapt the delivery of, and the implementation of that particular project. But it's
I think ladies, I think we need a round of applause, Blanche, for all this work, for getting that. So round of applause, round of applause.
Thank you. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because there's so much more.
Amazing. Amazing.
And I think it's amazing, like going into when you did have the shop front, it just used to fill me with so much joy, and just the quality of the products is just, it was top. So it's not, it's really well made, quality, and imaginative, like the imagination. And for me as a declutterer, I find that inspiring people with new thoughts about and transformation. And what I love is the idea of transformation using creativity and artists, and also a wonderful sense of the sort of the social economy as well, and the sort of economy of how you can get people to pay for stuff as well. And it's worth it. And I think you found what I wanted to kind of hear about the PPE story, when you shifted the people that you've been working with for 9 years who are sewers. Like, how was it for them and for you making this PPE? What was your experience?
Yes, so I mean, it was well, it wasn't really a struggle. I mean, it was just a lot of work, and it also, so we had a team of 3, including myself, and just manufacturing in those volumes, actually, like, kind of, we started thinking, and we've always thought about the manufacturing, obviously, like of garment, like the fashion industry and sustainability of the fashion industry, and the way that it's manufactured abroad, and how it's affecting the communities that are making clothes for for us in the Western world, if you like, and getting paid like really not a lot for creating these types of volume for us to consume. And I mean, Rags to Riches has always been, I guess, trying to kind of nudge people into buying properly, consuming properly, and reusing and mending and all these kind of things, rather than just like buying in Primark and then getting rid of an item that potentially you've not worn or you've worn once, and then it's it's not the trend anymore. It's just too fast. So Rags to Riches has always been at the forefront of this type of thinking, and green consumerism, which is potentially an oxymoron, but I do like that expression. So doing the PPE was quite hard. So there was like, sewing quickly, sewing fast, the dust that was coming out from the material, the dyes that were coming out from the materials, and thinking about, these industries, these major, corporations that are exploiting people really for the work that they do. And the work is actually quite skilled. I mean, we had to kind of, make, tops, bottoms, insert collars, insert pockets, and, elastics and stuff, trousers and tops. It was quite, and so for the tutors, the people that were involved in making them, we're kind of, a lot of the times, we're micro manufacturing, so we're making in small quantities. So that was a proper manufacturing setup where we had to kind of, like churn out the stuff quite quickly, and in volume. And so some of the tutors were like, oh, it's actually a bit, so we're kind of being sensitized to that kind of, that way of working. But then also, so one of the issue with that as well was the fact that we weren't the only team doing that, so there was a team of 100 makers in Glasgow alone making PPE for, for the NHS, where it looks like the PPE is actually, for the NHS is contracted, potentially made abroad rather than in the UK. So that's why there was a kind of shortage. But why not bring back this manufacturing in the UK? So that's one of the things that we're also quite interested in looking at, and paying people properly. So there is a need, obviously, the shortage in everything, in the food supply and, fruit picking and things like this, which is kind of outsourced. So it's like the COVID-19 and the pandemic has had some major repercussion within the whole economy and supply chain and things like that. So I think, hopefully going forward, these contracts, I think, that we've stopped making the PPE, the scrubs, but I think there's companies now that are now making the scrubs in the UK for the NHS rather than outsourcing that, and so there's an opportunity to grow, the local economy and get people paid. I mean, there's, unemployment and all the rest of it. So why not, pay people? But if it's cheaper to make a scrub somewhere else, obviously, but it shouldn't be that way.
I love how you very much kind of understand the whole complexity of the situation. And I also loved what you said about nudging people. It's not a matter of kind of preaching to people, this is what you should do, but how you kind of gently nudge and inspire. And that's certainly been my experience of your work. And like, I go around Govan Hill and I see wonderful murals that you've helped make of bottle tops and things like that. And it's kind of just drawing people's attention in such a celebratory way. And I wonder where did you pick up this sort of sense of celebration, and where did you pick up your skills of sewing and making, and where does that come from in Blanche's life?
So I guess my background, so I was born in Paris, brought up within this big kind of like city urban life. And my mom and dad had came from the Caribbean to, obviously for, a better prospects and things like this for their family, I guess. So I was brought up so I kind of was drawn at school. I was kind of, I didn't really fit in well with the school system, but I was really drawn to that kind of, the French culture, the kind of the arts and, the diversity of, the culture, I guess. So I was very drawn to that as a Black woman living in Paris and stuff, so I started kind of looking into being trained into design of some sort. So I kind of attended loads of different schools and tried to kind of get through like this. And so I picked up the skills. Also, I think I got into the kind of DIY punk kind of thing whilst I was growing up in Paris and stuff, and I know my mom and dad potentially were totally oh, what is she doing? We want obviously they potentially wanted their daughter to kind of maybe get into, business or be a lawyer or something, because that's that kind of, the Caribbean aspiration of, wanting to kind of really integrate in in the kind of, I guess, white culture in a way. You've got to do well, you've got, they've struggled themselves, worked their whole lives and stuff, and try to kind of make a better world for themselves and their family. But, so when I got into the DIY punk culture, there was definitely a conflict. But I think the DIY culture was very much about making your own things and, creating your own style, sewing your own clothes and finding ways of, going into the charity shops and stuff, So I think that's how I kind of picked up my skills. And then I kind of studied fashion design and community arts and things like that. So that's where, that's the timeline, if you like. of
What a
yeah.
great place to be someone who is, you know, skilled like that or arty minded. I mean, you were just in the right place for it,
I
weren't
think
you?
so. Yeah, and it was all over. It was everywhere. It was everywhere around me, and that was the only place that I felt, I guess, that I could integrate properly. You know, me as a Black woman, a young Black woman trying to find her feet and stuff. You know, and creativity and things like this was, you know, so it was either, you know, you kind of either had music or whatever, you know, like for you to. It's kind of, you know, that was in a way. Yeah, the best place for me to be, and it was all around me, so I was kind of, you know, like swallow, you know, like a sponge, you know, like going through museums and things like that, you know, with my friends, you know, with the kind of, you know, with the punks and all that, you know, and all that, you know. So yeah, so I think that's where it's all come from, really.
Brilliant.
And I mean, I certainly found that when I kind of landed in Govan Hill that I felt at home. I think because I'd had sort of quite an international background. And I was wondering, I don't know if any of our viewers as well have, you've suddenly arrived somewhere and you just feel like it just animates or it just nurtures or it just resonates. And I was wondering, it sounds to me like the art world for you did that, you know, it enabled and it animated. And does Govan Hill have a similar feel, or do you feel, or are there other places in the world where you just feel yourself?
Yes, so when I first arrived, so I met a Scottish guy in London, and then went back to Paris, and then came back here, and he happened to live in Govan Hill. And then when I first arrived here back in 1991, a long time ago, lived on Allison Street, and that was the only place that I felt comfortable in Scotland back in at that time. And I've seen Govan Hill evolved, I guess, because Govan Hill actually at that time reminded me of you know, of where I had, you know, where I grew up. So and yes, I definitely feel that is, and especially also like now with the Black Lives Matter movement. So I've been kind of going about and stuff, like in maybe Springburn or whatever, to pick up my partner or whatever. And when you walk about the whole of the South Side, actually, that's the only place that I've seen like these kind of responses to COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement in people's windows. And I don't actually see, I've been kind of driving about doing bits and pieces and stuff around Glasgow, and I don't see that type of response. So this is definitely the place that I feel more comfortable, me as a Black woman. And I connected with the place from the time that I set, you know, the first day that I set foot here. You know, you can get access to various different foods, various different cultures, and you know, and that's what I know, and that's what I've loved as a teenager and stuff growing up. So I feel that yeah, it's still that way for me. I think it is definitely the best place, and for me, in my perception and stuff, you know. And I've got children as well here that have grown up here, and I think that's the best. To me, that was the best area for them to be, you know, growing up in Scotland, which is, yeah.
Clara looks like she has something to say. And also we have some questions coming in on text, so I'll bring those in shortly, but Clara, you go.
I was going to say that sense of comfort that you're talking about in the South Side, I feel that too, but and I'm so glad that you've had that. It's so important. And I lived in South Lanarkshire, where I was a different religion to a lot of the people. I had a husband who was a different nationality, and we had a lot of violence and racism and difficulties, and I just couldn't wait to move back to the south side of Glasgow. And I'm not saying that all of South Lanarkshire's like that, but I would definitely say that that feeling of comfort and joy of the south side, you really brought that into Rags to Riches, into the shop, and I'm sure you continue to do that on the website. And recently I was decluttering with my children, and I don't know if you remember it, there was a beautiful turquoise hoodie that originally was an H&M hoodie, and it had the wee match with the 2 different socks on it that was printed in rags to riches. And I bought it. I fell in love with it. Then my son had it. He fell in love with it. And then he gave it to a friend, and she's now in love with it. So
Oh, yeah.
the joy that you have brought into rags to riches, it really just keeps giving.
Yeah, well, that's nice to know. I remember that top. I think that was at one of Anna Tudor's. Yeah, with the printed socks. Yeah,
with 2 different socks.
Yeah. That was really, yeah.
And we have some other good comments coming in. So we have a text which has said, talking about the Zoom stuff, so much online has helped me as I am so lonely. Tai Chi classes through Zoom, meditation on Facebook, talking to friends on Zoom, and a Facebook page called View from My Window are all good. But the schedule of things like Clutter Talk has also been good for me. Love Rags to Riches. Looked it up last week and it is so good.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
then in the live chat we have fantastic from Natalie Minnis. I've moved away from the high street, especially for fashion, due to their reaction to overseas disasters, etc. Love independent clothes and accessories. And Jocelyn says Blanche is great.
Yeah.
That's it.
That'll do.
That'll do. We'll take that, Joes. Oh,
we'll take that.
Clara's got her mask. Oh, and Elaine.
Oh, that's a good one. Did you make that yourself?
They came from Elaine, but actually in Home Bargains they have these for £1.99, and they also have ones that fit over a cap, which was clever.
Yes. Yeah, we looked into making, we've got a laser cutter, and we looked into making the visors, and trying to get the acetate is just a nightmare. Like, we can't get the acetate anywhere. So we've got like plans to make some with like plastic bottles, upcycled plastic bottle visors. So we'll look into that at some point.
So these ones were made by a local secondary school in their tech department.
Yes.
So
there's quite a lot of projects like that. That's why I think we can get any acetate, because we're on with the
and they've I think used the laser cutters to cut out the bits here, and then the foam,
and the foam, and that's
and then
wonderful.
you can replace, obviously we can replace the acetate on the front after each.
Very easy. I've just taken mine apart, if you can see that.
Yes, and then the acetate fits around the acrylic. Yeah, wonderful. It's great to see also, like, all these the schools, and I think SWG Free actually have got like a big project making like PPE for making these visors for the NHS and stuff. So and also, like, we're going to be going back into our new space, the Deep End, which is the Govan Hill Bath's new arts venue. So we're looking at kind of, providing and designing different kind of responses for people in terms of, like, getting people to attend workshops and things like that. So that's the visors are going to be essential.
And I think this is probably a good time to start talking about moving forward. So we've had another few comments. I've already said how good it is that Clutter Chat has been recognised by Oscar, and so pleased you'll be doing another series. And on the live chat, in terms of our clutter tips that we're doing, how do people find out about them? You basically just subscribe, and then you'll get an alert. So if you're subscribed, you'll get an alert, and we'll keep everyone updated with sort of probably a weekly little top tip video on sort of moving into the new normal. But I'm also interested in, like, how do we build, Blanche, how do we build a better future? What do we keep going? Just a little question, but if you could tell everybody how to do it, that'd be great.
Well, I think that COVID-19 has actually been, in a way, there's loads of silver lining moments in terms of how people connect and work differently. How people, like, how our children are, in that kind of education system, which potentially doesn't fit in terms of, like, I keep thinking we should just get the children outside, as much as we can, and, in a social distance manner to begin with, but really that should be going like the way forward, you know, like, and they should learn differently, because I think sometimes you've got like parents that are finding innovative ways to kind of, you know, like get people to, you know, get the children to learn maths and, you know, all these, you know, growing vegetables and, you know, coming up with solutions to kind of problems and stuff like that, you know. So also, like, I mean, I guess, yeah, talking about the supply chain, I've kind of talked about that. That needs looked at properly, you know, and then also the jobs that are more important to kind of, you know, have a nurturing society. You know, we're looking at, you know, the bus drivers, the NHS staff, you know, the people at the front line, you know, the delivery drivers and all these people, you know, it's kind of, you know, I mean, all the answers to me are there, you know, but whether there's a political kind of, you know, hunger to change things, you know, to change things, and the way the economy is relying on us consuming, you know, like opening the pubs is a priority. That I find that quite strange, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like, just, you know, like, is this the first, you know, are these the, you know, McDonald's and things like, are these the first things that we need to open, you know? It's like, you know, rather than potentially like shifting the focus on supporting the teachers to you know, to teach our children better, or supporting you know, the growth of consumables like food and things like that, you know, and addressing, you know, the recycling rates and things like the way that people recycle. And there's like a drive at the moment in terms of like the plastic bag is coming, you know, like because of COVID-19 response, you know, but that's actually not true, but it's actually linked to the oil industry. So there's loads of like, you know, like things that need to be addressed. And I think potentially, like, when we see the work that's happening in Govan Hill and the responses actually that, you know, the support, the Glasgow Mutual Aid, the creative responses in terms of like, you know, people doing things for themselves, the grassroots movements, people helping neighbors, you know, having these kind of connections within, you know, like sometimes like even in our flats, you know, like I've got like there's only 4 in the block here, but we are talking more since lockdown. You know, I'm talking to my neighbor, she wants to do a wildflower garden on one side, and, you know, people have been kind of, oh, I'm really into growing things, and, you know, it's happening at the moment. And if we keep that going, I think
I think we'd lost that for quite a while, actually. And, you know, I think you're right in saying, I mean, I live in a cul-de-sac and we all know each other, but actually it was that Thursday night going out and clapping for the carers that we actually all, you know, after we'd done that, stood as a big group, you know, and spoke, is everybody okay? What can we do? And I've lived here for 25 years, you know, and very friendly neighbours, but maybe not as close as we could have been. And I think that for communities, it has been a wake-up call to, we should really be not so selfish maybe in ourselves, and be looking out. And you said the recycling aspect of things. I think people have had to recycle properly because they couldn't just throw out the stuff and get the rubbish taken away for a start, which was the first thing. And then the second thing is food. You know, we needed to eat everything in our fridge till the next Monday or Saturday or whatever, till we were allowed to go out again to get the next. Because I think we became very complacent about all this, and that everything, you know, we could drive to McDonald's and pick up a burger, you know. But actually, we can actually make a burger in our own home if that's what we want, you know. And the kids are doing that, you know, or making themselves a so-called McDonald's, you know, with a wee toy, and, you know, so the children have learned to use their imaginations a lot more, which me in education, I mean, I used to stand in the playground and the kids would say, what should we play at? Oh, well, I don't know. You go away and think about it. But actually, the independent thinking of all these people had been lost for a while, and now they're having to think about it again.
I think I agree with you, Blanche, and Elaine, with what you're saying. And I think it's across all generations. I know that during lockdown, I've been cooking meals for a neighbour who's older and widowed, and a neighbour who's in a wheelchair. But it goes both ways. The neighbour who's widowed, he gave me he gave me an acupressure thing that he sent off for me because I get migraines, and I had a migraine on Monday, and it's the first time that I've not vomited violently for hours because I had his
Really?
acupressure thing on. And the neighbour who's in a wheelchair, he got another neighbour to bring me a bunch of flowers to say thank you and that I'm doing a good job with my kids. And those moments, it's about seeing each other across generations. Someone locks themselves out, instead of just saying, I'm sorry about that. The kids were down with magnets and bits of string and helping her get her keys back, and it's noticing each other and commenting in each other's lives. So, yeah, I think that's been a really good outcome of a silver lining.
Yeah, and I guess it's how do we harness that and keep going as well, you know, because yeah, I don't really have an answer to that. You know, I think people are connecting already, and relationships are being built, and I think that's potentially, like, you know, that's long term. Hopefully,
I hope so.
think.
I mean, yeah, I think it's about like nurturing what there is, so noticing what there is and nurturing and capacity building it and not forgetting it.
Yeah.
There was another, just to make you blush a bit more, Blanche, there's another note on live chat saying, Blanche is a very inspiring woman. I've worked with her for many years and I'm always amazed how her ideas flow, and she is so nurturing, helping you do your best and most importantly, wanting you to do your best.
Oh, I want to know who that is.
Feeling the love. Well, her name's up on there, so Joanne Neal.
Oh, Joanne, yeah.
And so big up for you, Blanche. But I have to say
Joanne.
that my colleague is equally inspiring. Elaine, I think we had one viewer text in saying that she'd been a guest earlier on, and she said that was a really strong moment for her, and thanking. I think each of us on screen just love seeing people grow and hearing the ideas and the thoughts and helping each of you just fulfill your potential. And sort of, I think all of us are kind of quite mindful of everything that can stop or prevent people getting in the way of really sort of celebrating who you are. And we're totally with you. We want you all to be the best you can be.
Yes.
And to nurture that and to help you have kind of an environment that supports that, you know. And so finding that home, finding that space, even if it's just a wee corner in your home, which nurtures you, that really just enables you. So I'm wondering if we could leave viewers of series with some kind of really good things that they can grab hold of to sort of move forward. And one thing is, if you're really concerned about if you're moved to maybe write to your MP or MSP about the recycling, it's about kind of, I think, changing those civic structures on one level. And then and kind of keeping an eye on that. So let's pressurize the government into how we want things to move forward, but also on the other level, just doing those little things like noticing the neighbors and saying hello and picking up and helping all that flow. And practically speaking, I'll flash it. We've got 4 more places, I think, left on the Strathclyde Uni course. So I'll show that. If you subscribe, you can get the top tips. You can buy stuff from Rags to Riches online store. And does Rags to Riches as well have a like a newsletter or something that people can subscribe to, or is there things that you'd recommend that people might want to?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Facebook, the social media pages and stuff, there is newsletters that come out under the Govan Hill Baths Community Trust. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of stuff happening within the trust. Loads and loads of support, loads of activities to take part in. I think that's really, definitely like keeping an eye on that for sure. There's loads of lovely things happening, and also outside Govan Hill. But yes, like to keep in touch with Rags to Riches' social media and GBCT What's on News. Yeah. Okay,
and Elaine and Clara, do you have any? Whilst you talk, I'll pop up the Strathclyde Uni stuff.
I think that, you know, I think if you've been watching this over the last 12 weeks, you can see that our message out there is to empower yourself or look within to try to make things happen. Sometimes we expect just things to happen just outside of our control, but actually sometimes if we take a wee bit control inside, then we can make little changes that can make a big difference to our lives. So nobody's saying go out and start, you know, full blown straight away, but all these little changes that we've talked about through the last 12 weeks could help you possibly, you know, change parts of your life for the better. And just something as simple as us going out, we went out for a walk and quickly picked up some paper that was lying about and put it in a plastic bag and brought it home with us. Well, that actually decluttered a part of the walk that we walk on, and it made it nicer for us. Mm-hmm. And we had helped the community by picking up a wee bit of paper. So, you know, we felt good about that. So there are small things you can do in your own homes or within the family's situation that can change just a little bit, which then empowers you to move on to change a wee bit more.
That's very good tips, Elaine. And I would also say that it's okay to do it at your own pace. And this lockdown has kind of enforced a sort of retreat, an inner retreat in us all. And it's okay to just sit back and look at your life and who you are and think, what can I change just now? What do I have the resilience to change? What do I want to leave until later? And just take it in the chunks that you can manage, that sometimes life will come at you and that you'll just have to change things, like my son bringing in fleas from the park. But other times you'll have more choice, but in your own time, that it might be work, but it should still bring you happiness.
And we had a request or a question, like, how do we do decluttering on Zoom? Like, how is it? So each of us do virtual sort of decluttering support, or video support. So I wonder if Clara and Elaine, you could speak about how that works. And the other thing moving forward, whilst I've got the floor, is people can also join Clutter Chat, which is the weekly peer support group, which is currently on Zoom, and moving forward will be both on Zoom and in meetups in Glasgow currently. But as you saw at the beginning of the programme, we've become a charity. So moving forward, and if you have any questions about that, you can just email us at clutterchat@gmail.com. That's clutterchat@gmail.com, and one of us will get back to you. But Elaine, Clara, and I also do from our personal businesses. We help people online. So Clara and Elaine, how does that work?
So with me, I would be looking with the person what their goal is. So I would spend a bit of time just finding out how they've been, what their vision is currently for their home and themselves. And then we would identify what their priority was and work through it together. Obviously, can't practically, if it's virtually, can't practically be hands-on, but can be there talking and responding to what's happening. And I tend to just do an hour if it's a virtual session. And then towards the end, just summing it up and finding out how it's felt for the person. And then I would follow up with an email about what we'd spoken about, what the person had achieved and their ongoing goals. If I would, tomorrow I'm having my visor and I'm going to work with a client in person to help with their recycling and just a few tasks. I'll be outside of their home, they'll be inside their home. So what about you, Elaine? What would you say?
Yeah, for me, it's establishing exactly what you've said, an individual program for that person. So if we were going in, we would be physically helping move around things. But for me, it's a first session is talking about what the problems are, how we maybe have, why the problems have maybe occurred. So, you know, having a look at that, investigating a little bit into that to see if there's some things that we could change that can help the process move a wee bit further forward. So the first session for me would be kind of like that. And then again, after that, as Clara said, looking at specific areas, identifying specific areas, looking at specific areas and the solutions for you individually, because we've done a very generalized sort of idea of how to declutter, but you know, every job we go to is different. So it's more about one-to-one individual program really that's designed for you. So as I said, for me personally, the first one would be a chat and all that, and then this further on down the line, it would be looking at maybe setting little challenges that you could achieve and then checking back in with me. But again, it's only probably about an hour, no more than that, really, just to keep the ball rolling.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And moving forward into a better normal, I hope that everyone's picked up some lovely ideas from our 12-week series. We've really enjoyed it. It's been a great opportunity for Clara, Elaine and I to talk rubbish.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
Yeah, in our week, but we've been able to do it. I mean, I've seen you guys now every week. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit relentless. And
Actually,
Blanche,
we're worse in person, actually. We're worse when we're all together. We're 10 times worse than this. At least we've got a screen between us now.
Yeah.
And Blanche, thank you for joining our Mad Room.
No
It's
problem.
lovely having you.
No problem. And it's nice to see you all again, actually. Yeah, it's good. You know, yeah.
Thank you for coming on and telling us.
Other Zoom faces and stuff. You know, 'cause
Well, let's wave goodbye to the viewers. Cheers.
Subscribe
For top tips.
And do you want me to
subscribe?
Yeah, and do you want me to share some stuff on the Rags Riches, obviously,
Yeah,
share the video and all
yeah,
that, but I'll
we've
put
got
the
no
page on
shame
again.
whatsoever.
Yeah,
We'll share everything. We have no shame whatsoever. Do it.
Thanks for inviting me.
Summer, everyone.
Have a great summer, everybody.
Yes.
See you in the better normal. Bye-bye.
See you at the course if you want to come on the course.